Hi everyone, and welcome back. In this tutorial, we'll start implementing the Stripe payment gateway. But before that, to continue this tutorial, I want to tell you to watch this tutorial, and I will keep the link in the description or in the resource of this lecture. So make sure to watch it to understand how the Stripe actually works. Now, let's go to the Firebase because we will also use the Firebase as a backend to make our payment more secured. And what will we use about the Firebase exactly is the Firebase functions. So for the Firebase function, it's not free anymore, or it's actually free, but you need to upgrade your project and you need to press here and then you need to upgrade your project to the Blaze plan, which is you pay as you go. So unfortunately, you need a Visa card or MasterCard in order to do it. So I'm gonna upgrade my project for now and implement the Stripe payment. Okay, so for me, the Blaze plan is now activated, and when it's done, you will get something like this. So now we can use the Firebase functions. And first of all, we need to create an account on the stripe.com. Of course, the link, I will keep it for you. So I will share this link for you. And then you press on login, or you need to create an account. For me, I will just log in. And when you are here in this dashboard, you press on the developers. And then you need to access the API keys here. And now you have publishable key and a secret key. These two keys are required, so be careful and keep it for you. And this secret key, if your code on GitHub, be careful, do not share it with anyone. Now for me, I don't care for this secret key since it is just a test account. Now since I activated the Blaze plan and my Firebase, now I can use the functions. So for that, we need to set up our code for it. So make sure to have Node.js in order to be able to follow along with the next step. So once you install the Node.js, you are ready to go, and then come to the functions and get started. And then they will show you the steps. And if you want to see the steps again, press on instructions. You need to install the Firebase tools. Then you need to log in and use Firebase in it. And now we will do these steps together. Okay, so let's go to our project and now open a new terminal. And the first command will be the Firebase login in order to log into our account. And now press yes or type in yes. It will take you to a new link. Use your email and then hit allow. And now it is succeeded. So let's come back to our project. Here it is. And as you can see in here, it says success logged in as my Gmail. Okay, so this is done now. Now we need to execute another command, which says Firebase init. This will allow us to choose what we want to do with the Firebase. In here, put yes, like this. And now you need to choose what we want. In our case, we just need to work with the functions. So scroll down a little bit, and here it is. Then you press space, and then press enter. And in our case, we need to use an existing project. So use it, hit enter. And in my case, actually, I have only this project, which is for the cross-city Flutter course. Now hit enter to choose this one. And then for the language, for the Firebase function language, I will use the JavaScript. And now for this one, Aslant, no need, so put no. And for the install, of course, we need it, so put Y. And this is why you need the Node.js to use the npm. So it might take time depending on your internet connection. And now the Firebase is done. Now coming to these files, we have now a new folder that has been created, which is named function, and we have these files. So if I press on this index in here, I have this file, and our code will stand in here for the server to create the Firebase function. So now let's navigate to this folder. So I will say cd function, this is how you navigate using Linux. And then in here, if you want to see what inside of this file, you can press ls like this, and you can see the files here. And then we need to execute a command here, which is says npm install stripe and then -save like this. Of course, all of these commands will be available for you in the description and resource of this video. Now this is done, we can proceed and start writing our code in here. So in here it is commented, we have this HTTP on request method. So what I'm gonna do actually, because this course focuses only on Flutter, so what I'm gonna do is I will paste this code and explain this code in details. So basically in the second line, we are initializing the stripe and we need the secret key. So the secret key, I showed you how you can get it. And then we have this HTTP on request method. And of course we have a try catch block in order to be able to catch the errors. At the beginning, we need the customer ID, and to check if this customer exists or not, we get a list in the user's email, and then we check this user if he exists depending on his email, and if the user exists already, we put the existing user ID to the user ID, and if he doesn't exist yet, we can generate or create a new user and then put the customer ID for it. In here, the reason of this ephemeral key is to create a temporal secret key linked with the user. And to make it clear for you, I added a comment above of each of these codes. And in here, simply I'm creating a payment intent. And for this payment intent, you need to specify the currency, you need to specify the amount, and you need to specify the customer ID. And then we are checking if the response is 200. This is something related to the REST API. If we get 200, it means the request is succeeded and we don't have any error. So we pass in success to true. But if not, we have an error, which is the error code 404. And then we put the success to false. And of course, if the request is correct, we need to pass in the other arguments, which are the customer ID, the ephemeral key, and then the payment intent. So this was for this file. Now we need to deploy our methods or our Firebase function. So to be able to do this, make sure to go to the functions. And as you can see, we are here already in the functions, and we can check the path like this. And then in here, we need to write a new command in order to deploy the function. And the command says Firebase deploy -- only functions like this. Now it might take time, so wait for it and it should work. Okay, so in the meantime, let's go to the browser and go to the functions. Restart this page, and now you have this request in here. So we have now this function available for us. So we are ready for the next step. Now we're good to go, and we can start writing the code of the stripe and our application. So using the Flutter code. Of course, for that, we need two different packages, the HTTP package and the stripe package. So for that, let's head over to the pub.dev, and then we search for stripe. And of course, you'll get many results. And for this one, for example, the stripe payment, I made a tutorial before about it, but unfortunately, this plugin has been discontinued. But I strongly recommend you to check that tutorial. I explained many things in details. Now let's come back. And in our case, we'll use the Flutter stripe. So go to this link. We will come back to the README because there's many things to be done as requirements. Now let's copy this and come back to the pubspec.yaml file and paste our code here. And then save your file and come back to the browser. And now let's go to the README. In the README, scroll down a little bit, and then you will find the requirements here. There is many requirements for the Android and one requirement for the iOS. So let's get started with the Android. For the Android, it says in here, the minimum SDK must be at least a 21. So let's go back to our code, and then in this Android folder, and then inside of this app, check this build Gradle, scroll down a little bit, you will find the minimum SDK here, and in our case, we changed it before and I put it 21. Now let's go back again to the browser, check the second one. We need to check the Kotlin version. Let's go back again, and we need to make sure of the Kotlin version, and for this, let's go to the build Gradle, this one, and then in here we have the version 1.6.10. So we're good to go. Now for this third step, we need to fix the theme. So let's go back to our code, and inside of this Android folder, you need to open the app, then open the src folder, then open the main, then the res, and then the values here, and check the styles. So for the styles, we need to edit this one and edit this one. So for the first one, I will use this theme. I change it like this. And for the second one, I will use like this, and this should work. Now, there is example here and here, you can check it. And here it is. It says, for example, change it to theme material component. And for this one, it says change it like this. So this is basically what I did. Now for this fourth step, we need to do something. So let's open this example, and let's open this example also, and check this one. And this one, for the class path, it says it should be 4.2.2. So for this Android tools, it should be of this version. So let's go to the inside of this Android file. So what I'm gonna do is close it and open it like this, and then you need to go to the build Gradle inside of this Android file, and you need to search for a class path, and then for this Android tools, we said it should be 4.2.2. Okay, now let's go back to the browser and check this one. For this file Gradle wrapper, it should be, the distribution URL should be like this. So I will copy this line of code and come back to our app. And then you can find this file inside. I will close the Android, then open it again to make it clear for you. Then inside of this Gradle wrapper, you open this folder, and then you can find it here. So in our case, it was 6.7. I will paste it here. And let's go back again to the requirements. Now we need to change the for something and the main activity.kotlin. So we need to change the Flutter activity to Flutter fragment activity. So let's go back again, and then inside of the app folder, then src, then the main, then the Kotlin file, then the main.activity, which is Kotlin. We need to change this Flutter activity to Flutter fragment activity. So this can be done like this. That's it. Now what I'm gonna do is to run the application again. Of course, I will import the packages first. So let's say Flutter packages get like this. And now I will cut this process and run our application again. In the meantime, I will go to the browser and then go to the pub.dev, and now search for the HTTP package, and then go to this one, go to the installing tab, and then here it is. Now go back to the pubspec.yaml file, and I will paste it here, and for the moment I will comment it just to make sure that everything is running correctly. Now to import this package, we can import it as the usual packages, but it's preferable to be imported like this because there is many packages that are in common of other packages. So later on, if we need to use the HTTP package, we just need to call HTTP dot the function that we need, just like this example here. Now let's go back to our code and let's wait. Note that it might take a lot of time. This is normal because we did a lot of changes, so it might take a lot of time. Just keep it and wait for it. Alright, perfect. So the installation is done now, and as you see in here, it installs some new things. So everything is working fine. Now let's uncomment this package and make sure that it's being installed correctly, and then cut the process again, and let's make sure that everything will still running. Then we can proceed with our code. Okay, so let's run again and wait. Okay, so the installation is completed and we got no errors. Now we can proceed and start writing our code. Okay, so now let's start writing our code. For that, we need this publishable key, so let's copy it and come back to our code. And for now, I will just do a demo and then we will implement it in our app. So this publishable key, it should be in this void. So in here, let's call the widget Flutter binding, and then we call ensure initialized like this. And then we can now call the stripe package. Of course, we need to import it. Then we call the publishable key here, and then we set it to our key like this. And then we need to call the stripe and call the instance dot apply settings like this. And this method is future, so it would be better if we convert this method also to future like this. Of course, we need to add a sync keyword here. And now to make sure that your app still running correctly, we need to call the process and then run the application again. And in the meantime, I will write a new widget in here and use it for the home. So I will use it for this home here. So let's create a new widget, or I can create a new class. So I will create actually a stateless widget, and then I will name it demo like this. And this class actually should be outside here. And now let's pass in a scaffold, and as a body, I will just give it center and give it a child, an elevated button, and we need to give it the child and onPressed like this. And for the child, I will choose just a text, for example, and let's say pay $20 like this. And of course, we need to add this sign before it to avoid any error. Now we didn't get any error, so everything is set correctly. Here's our app, it's working fine. And now let's use this demo, or let's name it payment demo like this. And now we can use it here, and I will restart the application and let's see how it looks. Okay, here it is. Now I want, when the user presses on this button, make a payment of $20. So let's get started. So now in here, I will create a future method. So let's say future of type void, and then we can name it initialize, for example, or init payment, something like this. And we need to add a sync keyword here. And now start writing our code. Of course, we need to catch the errors. So let's add a try catch block and like this. And now in the try block, we need to start writing our code. So for that, we need to use the HTTP package. So we can copy it from this website from here. And let's go up and paste it here. And now we can call HTTP and access it. So let's say HTTP, and you will have a lot of methods here. In our case, we'll use the post method, and of course it is a future and it takes few arguments. In our case, the first one I will pass is the URI. So let's say URI.parse, and for this URL, you need to call your Firebase function. So we go to the functions tab in here, and then we need to copy this and come back to our project and paste it here like this. And then for this post method, we need to pass in something else. So below of this URI.parse, so below of this one here, we need to pass in the body. So for the body, we need to pass in a map, which will contain the email. And we say email in here, we need to pass it, of course. And we say the amount like this. And of course, the amount, we need to pass it also. So let's do it directly. Let's pass in some named arguments here. So let's say in here, the email, and another one for the amount. And for the amount, I will keep it double for now. So let's say double amount. And instead of the string, of course, we need required like this. And now for this amount, we need to convert it to string. Now this post is actually a future, so we need to await it. And this post will return for us something, so we can name it, or we can save it in a variable. So let's say var response here, or final response, it will be equal to this method. Now let's continue, and we can actually, for you to make you understand better, I will add a comment above of each of these codes. So the first step is to create a payment intent on the server. And this is why we use this link. Now we can proceed, and the second step will be to initialize the payment sheet. So let's say in here, initialize the payment sheet. And for this, we need to call the Stripe package dot instance dot init payment like this. And this method, it takes a required argument of this type. So let's say like this, and choose this one, and we need to pass in the arguments. So for the arguments, we have a lot of things, but we will just pass in a few things. And this method is a future, so we need to await it. So let's start passing in our arguments. So the first argument will be the payment intent client secret, and this one, we can access it from the response, but we need to decode this response first. So for that, let's initialize a final, and let's name it JSON response, and it will be equal to JSON decode, and then we pass in the response.body like this. Now this JSON can be accessed like this, and we need to read the key, which will be payment intent like this. Now let's continue. We can pass in the merchant display name, and our case, I will say grocery Flutter course like this. And then we can pass in, or we need to pass in the customer ID. So for the customer ID, we also need to use the JSON response, and in here we pass in customer. And we need to pass in the customer ephemeral key secret, so this one, and we can access it also from the JSON response. And it seems that I forgot an S in here, so let's fix it like this. And we need to call ephemeral key like this, and we need to put it to test environment, so put it to true here. And for the country code, we need to pass it. So let's use country code as US, like this. Now that's it for the initialization. Now we need to start the payment. So we can call now the Stripe also .instance .present payment sheet. Of course, you have multiple options. In our case, we'll use the payment sheet. Now this is done. Of course, when it is done, it would be nice if we show the user some kind of toast or a snack bar, for example. So in this case, I want to show you how to use snack bar. So let's do it. So I will use scaffold messenger, and then you say of context. And of course, we don't have the context here, so we need to pass it. And then you need to call the show snack bar, and in here you need to pass in a snack bar widget. So snack bar in here and pass in the content, which will be a widget. You can use whatever you want. So let's say in here payment is successful, like this. And we need to add a semicolon here. And we need to pass in the context. So in here, let's say required build context, like this. Now this method is ready to use, but of course it would be nice if we catch any error. So for the errors, we can check if this error is of Stripe exceptions. So how can we do this? Is by accessing this error and say is Stripe exception, like this. And if this is the case, we can show also a snack bar. So let's add a const for this one, like this. And I will copy this like this and paste it here. Let's add comma here and comma here. Same for this one, like this. And in here, let's say, or we can access the error. So for the error, let's say an error occurred. And then we can access the error and we can access the message or localized message, like this. And now this const or this snack bar is not a const anymore. So let's add an else statement here, and we can also use a scaffold, a snack bar, and say, for example, error, like this, and we don't need these curly braces anymore. Perfect. So now this method is ready to use, and then we can use it here. So let's pass in the amount. For the amount, we will use 20. For the email, or we need to pass in the context, and then for the email, we need to pass in the email. So let's say email@test.com, and it is ready to use now. So restart the application and let's hope that it works. So let's see if we'll get any error. Okay, press on pay. And in here, I'm getting an error. So let's fix it. So first of all, let's add a sync keyword here and let's await it. Restart the application and let's try again. And we're still getting the same error. So let's see what's happening. Okay, so this error is not clear enough. So what can we do about this is to come here and print this JSON response. So let's, to make it clear enough, I will use log instead of printing, and I will use this one in order. So we are printing here the JSON response. So what I'm gonna do is to restart the application and let's see what is happening. Now pay, and we got an error again. So let's see. Let's go up. Okay, and here it is finally. So it says the amount must be at least 50 cents. Okay, so in here I'm passing 20. So we need to be careful. We can understand of this that the payment must be bigger than 50 cents. So let's pass in here 50 cents and restart the application, and let's see what will happen. So try it now, and finally it is working. So now we have this end test mode, and I canceled it now, and here I got this error. I will try again, and in here you can save everything. You can save your card, and in here you can use a test card, which is this one, 424242, and you can enter anything as secret key and anything for the end of the year, and for the zip code anything. And now pay this much, and I will save this card. So pay, and that's it. It is succeeded. And now we got this one, and it says payment is succeeded. And I got an error about it. It's something I think related to the scaffold. So we can fix it soon. So now let's go to the Stripe, and then you press on the payments here. And here are they. I got these two payments now. So this one is incompleted because I canceled it. And this one, and this one is succeeded because it is successful. So what I'm gonna do next is that I will change this value to 150. I will save the application and pay. And now we will have our card, which is saved here, or we can add a new card. But for me, I will just use this card and hit pay. And it should work. It worked. Perfect. So let's go here. Let's restart the web page and see. In here, I got this value and it is succeeded. Okay, perfect.